Welcome to Unpacking the Athlete podcast, hosted by yours truly, Rob Martin. Welcome to Unpacking the Athlete, a podcast dedicated to diving deep into what makes athletes who they are. Today's guest has done things that most humans can't even wrap their heads around. Here is a list of his accomplishments. A short list. How about a one-year bike tour around the world in 45 countries, amassing 20,000 miles? That's right, 20,000 miles. Or doing the Tahoe 200 and winning by 3 hours and setting the course record. By the way, that is a running event. Or maybe this year being the first American to finish the race across America. That is, all the way across the United States. He likes hard. Our guest today is Jim Trout, who resides in Michigan. Welcome, Jim. Let's dive in.
All right, thank you. Good to be here.
If you had a choice between these three events, which one would you choose? And these events are all made up by me. I'm not sure that they are real that I am aware of, but here we go.
They will be next year.
Okay, there we go. Number one, the agonizing African 23,000, yes, that's 23,000 mile race from the top of Africa to the bottom of Africa. Number two, the around-the-clock Australian 19.7K, yes, that's 19,700 miles, which is one time around clockwise and then turning around and going counterclockwise around the island of Australia. Or the Great Greenland 500-mile run stretching from the western shoreline to the eastern shoreline.
Wow. You know, that first one I think is actually a race.
Serious?
Yes. I don't know what it's called, but there is that from north to south or yeah, that is a race. Some guy did it, but he goes beyond and he goes up into the Arctic Circle, whatever, in Norway. So that's a thing. That's been done before.
Right.
So passé. So I love cold. It's hard, but I feel like I can deal with it better than heat. The Australia, I've been there twice and I love the East Coast. But once you get anywhere past Adelaide, so that side of the continent, it's just dust land and hot. So I guess definitely Greenland. I mean, that would be a challenge, but sounds beautiful. I've seen pictures. I'd rather go to Greenland than Antarctica, you know, to explore it. People say, oh, you should do a marathon on every continent. They have that club. And I guess I'm not really thrilled about Antarctica. Looks awesome and everything, but I'd rather go to Tierra del Fuego or someplace in Chile or Argentina instead of just running on a piece of block of ice. But I love, like, point to point across the continent. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So Greenland it is. And you already answered the why.
Right.
I'd like you to paint a picture for everyone about that 45-country ride around the world. Whatever comes to mind. Just kind of paint a picture of that whole event.
Dream come true, really. Started my cycling life age 12. I rode across Michigan. It's called Pedal Across Lower Michigan. Then every year since then, I got the bug. And by the time I was 17, I rode across the United States, Seattle to Atlantic City. It was a bike tour, 50 days. So some days are over 100 miles, other days are like 70 or lower. The person who organized that trip was a fundraiser for American Lung Association, had a crazy bright idea of taking a group of riders around the world. And so once you sign up for one of his rides, you get these flyers in the mail. And I think I was around 18 or 19 and they said it's going to be in the year 2000. And I signed up right away because I just thought this is like my dream right here, taking a year off and he would provide all transportation between continents, 2 meals a day, lodging. Most of it was camping, but I love traveling and I love putting myself out there as far as immersing into other cultures and languages and kind of being scared every time you cross a border to a new country. So South Africa, you know, there's a lot of bias here in America. I feel, you know, when we talked about South Africa before we left, people are saying it's so dangerous. Make sure you travel in groups and packs because you can get mugged or raped. Or they were the friendliest people on the planet. I mean, just very wholesome, and they cheered and clapped for you along the way. If you had trouble, they were there to help. Just very pleasurable people. So I was still kind of young. I was 29, 30, and just traveling the world was able to like open my eyes. Like, the world is a friendly place. Yes, you have to be careful about things, but we have so many dangerous places here in America. You don't want to go around New Orleans, which I've been down there at nighttime on my bike, and I'm like, this is really scary. And I'd rather be in Europe or some other countries that they just seem like they treat strangers and travelers much better. So, but it had all of its crazy challenges too. Like, it snowed in Greece. There was a huge mountain climb we had to do, and that was in May, and it still snowed. There's a place in Costa Rica called the Mountain of Death. We had 200 riders, and only like 5 made it over this mountain before it got dark. It was in San Jose to the next San Isidro town, and somebody had to get a flatbed truck and truck all the bikes down to the end of the day. So, countless number of stories, beautiful countries. Wish I could do it again someday, but yeah, it was a wonderful experience.
That sounds fun.
Right.
Take a whole year off and just go here and there
Yeah.
and ride and have fun.
Yeah.
Can we move on to the Tahoe 200 and maybe talk about a point where maybe during that race you had a feeling of maybe stopping or quitting?
I didn't in that particular race. I've entered Tahoe 200 3 times. First time did it, it's that nervousness of signing up for something so massive, and you don't know what you're doing and how to train or what to expect. So I did it 2 more times, and I DNF'd both those times. The first time, you're just out there, you're just having fun, and I'm just kind of doing my thing. And by mile 100, I was shocked to see myself in second place, because I wasn't racing. I was just kind of doing my own run, my own pace, and I felt pretty good. But there was a guy in front of me named Paul Romero. He just looked like this Spartan guy, this tall, buff, just lanky runner dude. He's done a bunch of hundreds before, I guess. They said, oh yeah, he's actually organized a few 100-mile races. He's the best. And so he was an hour ahead of me at that point, at the halfway point in Heavenly. And I'm like, well, all right, whatever. But as the race went on, I think with about 50 miles in, it was nighttime again, and his feet were blowing up, blisters, and mine were too. But my wife was with me at that point to help me along and pace me a little bit and meet me at the other checkpoints. Get this, the checkpoints are 25 miles plus apart. So it's not like, oh yeah, get water at the next aid station. You'd have some mountain pass to go over. I mean, it'd be 5 to 10 hours before you would get to a place where they'd have water or food again. So you really had to kind of know your way. The routes were kind of marked with a pink flag and everything. So you really had to pay attention where you were and what you're eating, and watch for bears and wildlife and things. So yeah, it was like 1 a.m. I'm not sure what town it was, but he was sitting in his truck, and we just passed him. And I was all nervous, like, wow, I'm actually in first place, and just kind of freaking out. And I don't like that feeling. But my wife just ran with me for a few miles, and then off in the woods I went somewhere off the trail. So then I was texting her, like, where is he now? Did he get up? Oh, yeah, he got up right away, and he's coming after you. I'm like, oh, great. What do I do? So that I was looking for inspiration. That really did kind of light the fire. I'm like, wow, I'm in first. Maybe I can win this, and I got to keep pace and everything. So I did keep pace, and I made it to the next checkpoint. I think I was maybe half hour ahead of him, according to what they were saying. And then the next checkpoint, I think there were 30 miles left, and he was right behind me. I sat down, and I see him coming into the aid station. I'm like, that's it. He's totally going to pass me, because this guy's, I'm not an ultra runner. I'm training for this, and I've done 100 before, but 200, I'm at 175. I guess it's done. But I got up and started running, and he just got there, so he sat down, and then I got lost like 3 miles after that checkpoint, and I'm like, oh, he's probably passed me or whatever. And then I started getting pissed off with myself, because I'm like, why am I saying that? Why can't I be first place? What's wrong with me? Why? I think I can take this guy. So I just kind of got that anger going and brewing, and I got back on course, and I actually really ran hard to the next and last checkpoint, which was like 15 miles left. And apparently he was walking or something. So I put like 2 hours on him right there. And I thought I was going to finish in daylight. I was riding high. We had 1 more mountain pass to go, and I'm like, oh, it's only 15 more miles. I can punch that out in like 3 hours. No problem.
Right.
Oh, it was so bad, because it was up this ski hill, and it got dark, and I was starting to hallucinate at this point. Rocks were becoming cows. My wife finally joined me for the last like 8 or 9 miles, and see those cows over there? See their sweaty noses and stuff? It's like, Jim, those aren't cows. Those are rocks. I'm like, no, I can go touch one, I swear. So I'm really starting to lose it, and I'm glad she was there. And then she got lost a couple times. It's dark. You can't see where the trail is. It's in the woods somewhere off trail. And I was starting to get really angry. Like, do not make me walk more than 100 more yards. I'll be so pissed. And we kept looking behind her shoulder. Where's Paul Romero? We're lost. We're slowing down. And finally, we saw the lights at the end of the ski hill. And I sprinted down the bottom, and I heard Paul Romero was like 3 hours behind me. So I didn't have anything to worry about. But I was just really surprised that I got first place. So same thing with Race Across America. I was surprised that I finished so high, because these athletes at the start line, and also Strava, looking at some of the rides they do, and I'm like, these guys are monsters. I'll just do my race. Don't look at Strava.
Right.
Just don't panic. I remember looking at you when I rode with you the other day. You have like every king of the mountain here. I'm like, it's going to be a tough day ride with Rob. It's going to be a long day. So I tried to hang with you a little bit, but Strava's like the killer. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing, but it's very humbling when you look at other people, and really you shouldn't, because, eventually, some of these runners, they run 2,000-3,000 miles a year, and I look at my little annual total and it's like 400 miles or something. And that year I did crest 1,000 miles before I did Tahoe 200, but every year since, I'm usually in the 500 to 700 mile running range.
Yeah.
I just like biking.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not the first person that's told me on a long event that they've started to hallucinate.
Okay.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
So it's
scary.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
How do you keep your feet comfortable during that long of a race?
I used to treat the blisters. I used to stop at aid stations, and there might be a volunteer there just doing some surgery pretty much, and using all these salves and ointments and things. And I do things pre-race to kind of just put some lube in there. I think trail toes is what I've gravitated to. But a couple times you just start running through it, and believe it or not, your feet, the pain goes away. It's so painful. Like a few steps you're tiptoeing and you're like, just buck up, what the fuck? Just keep running. So just keep running. And it goes away. I don't know if it's just adrenaline or what, or the blisters pop and then things just get numb. But just ignore it, I guess, is the thing I have.
Okay.
Try and prevent it. I don't have any magic shoes. I tried those Ingy socks.
Yep.
I tried different salves. I tried pre-taping them with different taping products, and different size shoes, different socks, making sure they're dry. All these things that feet doctor says you should do, and I'll do them to some degree. But once the blisters start, you just keep running.
Yeah.
It's just mental. It hurts, but I'd actually rather have that than nausea or lack of energy. So I feel like those things are really hard to overcome with your nutrition, or you just start falling to pieces.
Yeah.
And I guess if you had that and then you had foot problems, it's pretty hard to get over. But the feet, just get over it.
Now I would love for you to walk us through your recent journey, the Race Across America. Yeah. Maybe where it starts exactly, where it finishes, and then maybe try to tell us a little bit maybe about each day if you can, and how many days you were out there.
Yeah, if I broke down each day, that would be a long story, but it took me 11 days and change. This year, the winners, nobody finished under 10 days, which is surprising. Usually got some of these monsters from Europe that finished, and I think the record's just under 8 days.
Wow.
So they're just plugging along 350, 400 miles a day. So my goal this year was actually to break 10 days, which is right on 300 miles a day. If you just take it like, 300 miles, you just ride 15 miles an hour for 20 hours. That's not a big deal. But you got sleep and everything. But if you're really good about time, you can work that out. But it starts in Oceanside, pleasant town. Got the ocean breeze. It's about 65, 70 degrees. You start there. It ends in Annapolis, Maryland. But I've done this race before, and it's nice that it starts so cool. But not more than 15 miles into the ride, you kind of go up this big climb, and then you're cresting, And then it's very humid, and it's about 90 degrees all of a sudden. And then you still keep going up and up and up and up, and you get to the crest of a desert, and by that time it's about 6 p.m. or so, and it's probably 95 degrees. And then you descend into the literally pits of hell, where it is 100 degrees, and you're riding in that for the next probably 4 days, where that's with the sun down. Sun up, it's way over 100 the last few years.
Oof.
And I told my crew this year, I said, do not under any circumstances tell me this, that at least it's not hot as last year, because in 2021 it was 120 degrees, but then this year it was 115. So what's the difference between 5 degrees? They could stay outside of the car longer. They didn't blow out the air conditioner, thank God. But last year I put my bike up against the car because I said I got to get in the car for like 10 minutes to get some AC. And it's a black car, so when I leaned my bike up against the car, the front tire was touching. And I'm sure the car was like 200 degrees. I don't know.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It just totally popped because it's so hot. You know, this year I had all these plans and how to get through that heat. I guess the biggest thing is just to take it easy. There's a lot of adrenaline. They stage the racers based on when you last did RAAM. So all the veterans start last, and they do it in 1 minute intervals. So I was the second to last racer. The guy right behind me did 2004. He did RAAM. I did it in 2005, but he passed me, I think, about 10 miles in. So I was last, DFL, dead fucking last, which is not a big deal. So he's going through the hills and everyone's ahead of me. It's not a big deal. Middle of the night, the first night, the car gets flat tire, and it's in the middle of the desert. I was starting to catch some people, but then everyone that I caught passed me. And we're trying to work out this tire for the vehicle. We parked it off to the edge of the road and couldn't get the jack under. Anyway, we finally flagged somebody down, and about 4 hours were lost right there. So I was really DFL.
Yeah.
And I was kind of getting a little nervous. They do have cutoffs on the race. The Durango is the first cutoff. I think the second cutoff is in somewhere in Missouri. And if you don't make it there in time, you know, if you can imagine the staffing to have people, volunteers, and race monitors on that race, you just can't have 2,000 spread between the racers. So they make you have to get to certain points at certain times. So that's already putting us behind the 8 ball. We finally get the car going. 4 a.m. we're starting to go again, and I said, I don't feel good. So I pull over and I throw up, just like last year, and that put me again behind the 8 ball. I don't know why. I think it's just you're all worked up, and then you cool down and you start going again. And so at this point, I'm like, Jim, you've been here before. You've done all this before. You've thrown up before. You've been behind the 8 ball. No reason to get worried. Just get on your bike and ride. So I just kept riding and kept riding and kept riding. And the next day was a little bit better. My wife came in. She couldn't be there at the start for cruise. She's crew chief, so she came in Phoenix. This is one of those races where you will laugh, cry, get angry, throw crap many times. So I remember I'm riding along. It's like day 2, and I've been through so much already. It's so hot, and I'm listening to one of my earbuds, and she comes over and has a text, and it's announcing her voice. She's like, it wasn't even her voice. It was just like a text, you know, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. I love you. And I just started bawling right there.
Right.
Just the simplest text.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, it was so emotional. And finally saw her in Camp Verde, and I'm like bawling and giving her a hug. I'm like, it's been so hard, you know, and it's hot and sticky. But I think I was still in last place. I didn't want to look at the race standings or anything. I just knew I hadn't passed anybody.
Right.
And I didn't see any racers. And I DNF'd last year, and most of my crew is back with me this year. And part of the kind of explanation, like, yeah, you should do it again. I said, because last year was COVID, so most people were American. I think we had one Italian made it in the country somehow. So this year we had 35 people from around the world, only 5 Americans, and everyone else from every corner of the world. And I told my crew, you know, this year you're going to like hang out at the checkpoints, and you're going to talk, you can hear the different languages, and you're guys going to share stories. And for the first 4 days, we didn't see a soul.
Oh.
It's just me. And with my puking and
The 4-hour setback.
yeah, so we finally started catching people in Colorado, a couple people, and little did I know that people just kept DNFing here and there throughout the race. And it was, like I said, I didn't pay attention to it, but I do know if you can kind of make it to the end, it's over a 50% drop rate.
Okay.
And looking at some of the resumes of these other racers, you announce my resume, it pales in comparison to what other people have done. So it just tells you how hard this race is and how amazing of a satisfaction to get that finish, just to push through. Every day had something. Another short story was day, I think 4, there was a fire in Phoenix, so they had to reroute. So you had to hop in a car and drive an hour to the reroute. And I had to ride all night because I was short on time to get that Durango cut off. But we entered the Navajo Indian Reservation, and they said, no matter what you do, just make sure you watch out for the dogs. I guess there's a lot of just kind of rabid dogs out there. And we decided to go to this campground to sleep overnight because I was just getting a little sleepy. It was 2 a.m. It really wasn't a campground. It was just like a field with some trees in it. And we drove in, and we're greeted by 3 dogs barking at us, wagging their tails. And they said, Jim, you got to get back in the car. I said, no, I think they're right. They're wagging their tails. They'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Right.
I'm tired. I just want to go to bed. And they're saying, no, you really need to get back in this car. And I said, look, I think we'll be fine. Let's just go over there by that building over there and we'll be fine. So we went over there. There weren't too many. There was, I think, one person there greeted us and says, welcome to the Navajo Nation. I said, thanks. Is that place okay? He's like, yeah, make yourself at home. It's 2 a.m. What is this guy doing out of his truck with dogs around at 2 a.m.? I don't know. But our protocol for sleeping, I wanted to prescribe 3 hours of sleep a day. Since we didn't have the RV at that point, it was just a follow vehicle. They had to take everything out of the follow vehicle. So I had 3 coolers, a bunch of drawers and things, and they had to put all that just on the ground outside the RV. And I had a foam mattress that we rolled out, and I would just kind of curl up in a ball for 3 hours, and they would wake me up. Where's my crew supposed to sleep? Wherever. So Josh Juggin slept on I think a picnic table with thermos arrest, and my other crew is a good friend from the ER. She was a nurse, and she slept in a hammock, and she relays stories about dogs circling her underneath while she's in this hammock. We got all our food and gear out, and it was an interesting night, but nothing eventful happened. So we set the alarm for like 4 a.m. and got up and started to ride again. And that was kind of a typical day. I would get up maybe 3 or 4 a.m., ride until midnight, a few stops during the day, maybe change clothes, and then try and find a place to sleep. We slept in a park once, and like this literal city park.
Yeah.
Didn't want to look like vagabonds, but as far as competition, really I didn't feel much of anything until the last day. And I kind of was looking around. There were 2 other Americans, Phil Fox and Les Crooks, both Midwestern guys. And I started looking at where they were, and then I started actually losing fun with the race because I was obsessed where they were. I was pushing myself probably harder than I needed to. I was asking my crew about updates, and I'm like, Jim, just do your race. You're just messing up with your nutrition and where you are and your effort level. So I did ignore it, and I eventually did pass them. I think they were doing the same thing. So I think Phil said he was pushing a little too hard, and he just kind of blew up. He said, I think it was right before the mountains in Appalachia, and I passed him then, and I guess I was able to hold him off towards the end. I just did my race. I had enough. I knew exactly where I wanted to push a little harder, and that was in the Appalachians because I've done this race before, and he and Wes were rookies, so I don't know. They kind of knew what to expect, but it made it interesting for other people to watch too, and to be that close towards the end is pretty exciting because a race that long. I mean, the winner I think beat me by 40 hours or something.
Yeah.
Second place was like 30 hours ahead of me, and then a female who was leading most of the race, she was ahead of me by I think 24 hours or so. When you get that gap, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, this person is way ahead. But sometimes you get those tight little clusters, and it's fun to watch.
Yeah. Definitely. I was watching the updates from Josh.
Yeah.
So he kept us all up to date on Facebook.
Yeah, that's cool.
How many mechanicals did you have? Do you have an idea?
I wanted to keep it simple. I had 10 flat tires, let's say, but I had a climbing bike. I had my sponsor bike, Spiegel. It's kind of this Race Across America endurance frame. Wanted to ride that a lot, and I also had kind of an endurance gravel bike that I threw some aero bars on, and I rode all of them probably about equal. The Spiegel's kind of a lightweight one, and so I was really obsessed with gearing. I felt like I need a tight cluster because I can't stand that feeling when you're riding along, and it's just a little too hard.
Yep.
And then you hook it in and you're like, it's just spinning too much. I just want that magic sweet spot. So most of my gears were like a 12-28, but from the year before, that 28 just wasn't. I don't know if I'm getting older or what, but some of those steep climbs, especially right after Oceanside, I think the reason I threw up last year was just because I'm standing in even a compact. I think my lowest was a 38-28, wherever that equates to, and I'm standing and I'm out of energy, especially when you get to the Ozarks and some of those other steep hills in Indiana and Ohio. You need something more. So actually on my Spiegel, I got the gravel, the new Di2 GRX.
Okay.
And that one's really slow. I think that's a 48-31. But I was asking Josh, instead of swapping out freewheels on these certain wheels, I wanted to swap out a whole wheel. And that was causing problems sometimes. Sometimes it would skip, and sometimes the chain would be really dirty. But those are really mainly the only mechanicals. I was trying to keep it simple for my crew, but and again, with flat tires, I didn't want to waste time with changing the flat. I'd just swap out a wheel, and they would just take care of the flat. But I was like, that bike, this is a disc wheel, and it goes to this bike, and that free wheel has to go with that bike, and I was starting to lose it. And just ride your bike,
Right.
Yeah.
How did the finish feel when you got there? It had to be pretty emotional.
It wasn't as emotional as my first one in 2005. I guess I just knew what to expect. I mean, it was so unbelievably gratifying, but at some point you just know within yourself that you're going to finish, and it's not like it's a little bit of a relief, but it's kind of like when you just know, try to make an analogy, it's your last day of work or your graduation from school or something. It's a big long journey, and you're done, but you knew you were going to finish it. And I was so proud of my crew, so happy. 2 of my kids were crew with me, and gave them big hugs because I was so proud of them. It's a hard stuff for any crew member, but imagine a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old, just kind of the rigors of the road and staying up 24/7, trying to get a sleep schedule and still helping Dad out, throwing water at him and spraying me down and handing me cold rags every 10 minutes. Yeah, that was very gratifying. There's no feeling like it, I guess. So I encourage anyone who's an ultra athlete to do this thing. It's so much planning. You have to get the crew, but you're out there riding your bike and people are just handing you stuff for days on end. It's just wonderful seeing those sunrises and sunsets. Just life-changing. Kind of never forget those moments, especially when you're that emotional and raw.
Yeah. When
you make an accomplishment. I mean, I can think of countless examples during the race that, seeing other racers, talking with them for a bit, sharing stories. Durango was by far the hardest day. It was like 315 miles. And the last bit was this 15-mile climb. And I remember it was still daylight in Cortez before I hit that climb. And I'm like, I'll get this done. No problem. Well, it started to rain. There was a 20-mile-an-hour headwind.
Oh.
So can you imagine going up a steep hill, dark, rainy, and 20 miles an hour headwind? And I'm standing in my easiest gear on my climbing bike. I think this one, I had a 34 in the back.
Okay.
And I'm just, I was seriously thinking I'm not going to make it. And there were other nights where, 6 miles, the last 6 miles, they were the worst of the entire trip. How could 6 miles be that hard? I just want to go lay down. I just want to sleep. You just want to get off your bike so bad, and you can taste it. It's like, how much longer? 6 miles.
Right.
Tell me it's 6 miles, and don't mess up with your calculations. Say it's 16 or something, because I got just enough for 6.
Yeah, right.
Don't tell me it's 16.
Right.
Yeah, it's an amazing race. And any other race, you talk about Tahoe, talk about Margie, talk about any older ultra. There, Arrowhead was super hard, Badwater, very, very difficult. I mean, but you still think in the back of your mind, it's only 130 miles. I'm going to be done in 30 hours. I'm going to be done in 10 hours.
Yeah.
If you start thinking that way in RAAM, you just don't, because I still have 2,000 miles. And the hardest not even to come. You can get Kansas headwinds and torrential storms in Missouri, or the Missouri River Valley in 2005 had, that the heat that just kind of drained you.
Yeah.
It's so oppressive. That was awful.
Oh.
You can't breathe, and you never know. So RAAM is like, if you do RAAM, everything else is easy. That's the slogan. Even relationships, I feel it's like not as hard as RAAM, not as hard as RAAM. You know, if you're in stuff with your wife or kids or work, it's not as hard as RAAM.
Right. I believe it.
You know, you get through it, and you're like, you can get through this too.
That's just nuts.
Yeah.
What sport did you start in first, biking or running?
Biking for sure. I actually hate running. The only reason I took it up was my children.
Okay.
It's that same little bug of getting to the next place or running across the state. To train for Tahoe 200, I did actually run across the state. I started in Onekama and went to Tawas.
Nice.
It's a fundraiser for Helen DeVos Children's Hospital. But I just kind of brainstormed it like, I got to get in. I've done 100-mile races, and usually can do that within all daylight, but I need to know what it feels like to run beyond that 100. You know, I've listened to a couple of interesting podcasts about running that, you know, if you know you have 100 miles to run, once you cross the finish line, you collapse after 100 miles. And I have done that. And I'm like, well, how in the heck am I going to be able to run 200 miles? And you just switch your mind. So you run 200 miles and you collapse at the finish line. So obviously you can do it. It's just something about the mind that you have to focus on. So I was really nervous about the 200 thing. So 150 across the state, and I did it right. I even took a nap because I knew that on the 200-mile race, I never did sleep for that. I think I took a couple log cat naps where you just, you know, falling apart and then need to sleep. So I think I just sat down on a log and cat nap for 15, 20 minutes. Start getting bit by bugs and stuff, so you got to get up and move, you know. But yeah,
no sleeping here.
No, I did wrestling in high school. I did a little bit of track, some cross country. I just didn't like those short distances because you know, when you run that fast, that hard, you feel like your lungs are going to pop out of your mouth.
Oh, yeah.
I hated that feeling.
Yeah.
Or the sprint finishes. I'm sure you do sprint finishes in some of your races, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's hard. I did one sprint finish. I liked gravel bike with my wife, too. The Dirty John. Have you ever done that? Have you heard of that gravel race?
Is that the donut one?
No, I think that's over there, too, though.
Okay.
Dirty John, at St. John's, they have a donut at the cider mill there.
Okay.
But it was one of our only sprint finishes. I remember there were only 3 tandems in there, and we passed one. It was really mushy gravel, and one was way ahead of us, but we thought, all right, second place is cool. We're going for this point challenge. Like with 5 miles left, this tandem cruises by us. We're all of a sudden in last, and they have this train of like 15 riders behind us. Oh. And so we latch on, and my wife's like, I can't believe they passed us. You got to pass them, Jim. We're going to pass them. I'm like, just bide your time. Bide your time. You know, we can just sit on this train. Yes, we have 5 miles left, but don't worry about it. So we start working our way up a little, and we're kind of like maybe 3 or 4 back from them. And she's like, we should go now. There's only 2 miles left. I'm like, think back to those Tour de France races that we watch, where they have that one guy out front, and you think for sure he's never gonna, he's gonna go, and they always catch him. Yeah. Even with 1 kilometer left, they still catch him.
It's
They're like
crazy.
You could see the finish line. They still catch him. So I told my wife that I'll tell you when to go, but don't. And it's really hard on a tandem because I could feel
she wanted to go.
She wanted, and we were getting too close to the front, right? So I'm gonna like, man, if you don't slow down, I'm gonna put on the brakes because we cannot be up front quite yet. We just gotta ride this train out. He said, all right, you just tell me when. I'm like, okay, I'll tell you when. And just like the videos, you know, I waited till maybe less than a mile left, and there was one last turn into the orchard. So I think I saw it maybe 50 yards ahead of me, and I said, go now. And little did I know, because I'm not a sprinter, so I've sprinted. We both sprint as hard as we can. We fly by everybody, make the turn first, and then there's like a little rise and then a turnaround. And I think maybe 10 seconds, maybe even 5. I totally gassed. Yeah. I didn't know that's what happens if you give it your all. You probably have, 10 seconds? I didn't have anything.
Yeah.
So
30 max.
I said, I'm so sorry, Miriam. I don't know where they are behind me, but I don't have anything left. So we're just kind of cruising, and she looked back. She said, Jim, they're still 100 yards back. And I'm like, sweet, because I don't have anything. Right. Yeah, so we ended up beating that tandem. So that was our only, my only touch of that sprint finish.
Sprint finish.
Yeah. Everything else is just ultra, and you just kind of go.
Yeah, just go.
Yeah.
So you said 12 years old is when you got started on the bike? And how did that happen?
My dad's heard of this ride called Palm That was the first year somebody organized it, and I've always been a map guy. I love looking at maps and looking at distances and just looking at Lake Michigan and Lake Huron. And it was a camping thing, but to have that achievement of going to like sea to sea and all on your own on your bike. And my dad also said, you can have a chaperone there. He couldn't go with me. My mom, they were divorced and she was busy with other things too. He said, so I have a guy from work, just check in with him every day. So imagine this 12-year-old kid with this independence of just riding his bike across the state. You know, it's part of a group ride. So there was a couple hundred people with you. But I would just say hi to this guy. I didn't really like him. You know, Len, I'll see you, and I'll see you. So just hung out camping and met some other friends that I'm still friends with on that ride. But that sense of accomplishment and achievement at that age and independence, I guess. I just liked, I've done many solo tours too, or I'll like fly to one city and then like on Southwest, and then I'll fly back home from another city that I've cycled to. And those are usually like a 3-week trip, 100 miles a day. So like around 2,000 miles I would do. Did that in Europe a couple times, flying to Paris, fly home from Lisbon.
Okay.
And just to be kind of out on your own, you can throw a tent in the woods anywhere. Some days you get hotels, some days you just camp out when you're tired. I've been in pastures, I've slept with goats and cows. And, I just love that independence and ability to explore the world on a bike. It's
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah.
You mentioned wrestling and another sport. Do you think that any of those sports from your past translated to making you better on the bike or at endurance events? I mean, I know obviously running does, but
not really. I think they were just more curiosities. Yeah, it's mostly adventure. And I didn't even know why I got into racing, really. I've done Dalmac 4 times before then the 24-hour challenge. I did that. You have to be 18 to do that here in Michigan. So it's kind of on the calendar, and I got the bug for racing from that. But I didn't want racing to kind of take away the fun from only, type of tour. Like I want to go far, I want to push myself, and it's fun to explore that thing inside me. Like on the Tahoe 200, I didn't really know that existed in me to get angry and want to beat somebody. That's not really my mantra. I guess when it's sparked, I do want to do that, and it is within me. So that's like that exploration. Or in countless times on RAAM, when you think, you said, is there any time when you think you're done? And not really, but I don't know, they talk about digging deep, or it's more of a confidence, but you just know, especially when you're younger, if you haven't gone through it before, it's like, how do you get through this? And I have tons of DNFs. It's not like I finish every single race. This Furnace Creek 508, I've done this 4 times, and I DNF'd twice.
Okay.
RAAM last year I DNF'd. Arrowhead I did 3 times, but DNF'd once. But I usually come back. Like the year I DNF'd, I came back the next year and set a record for unsupported. So, you just kind of tweak the formula, or you know what to anticipate. And all those hardships in the future, you just know you're going to get through it. Like on RAAM, throwing up in the middle of the desert, day 1, hour 12, you're like, I said to myself I was going to take it easy this year. What the hell? Just pissed off. But you just I've been through it. You recover. And crew's freaking out because, Jim, you haven't had a calorie in like 12 hours. I'm like, I know, I'll be fine. I ketoed for Tahoe 200.
Okay.
I think I consumed 1,000 calories over that 60 hours of running.
Wow.
So I drank a lot.
Yeah.
I had cheese and salami throughout the race. And
that was it.
I think I had a couple swigs of Coke at the aid stations.
Okay.
But yeah, I calculated to 1,000 calories. And that's because I read about this keto diet and utilizing your fat on your body.
Yeah.
I started practicing my runs with that, and I figured, you know what, that does work for shorter, I don't know, 200 miles, and not short, but it's short, like a day or 2 in.
Yeah.
It won't work for RAAM. It won't work for higher intensity. I've tried it for
you'll run out.
Yeah, I think you just got to know where you're burning.
But you can definitely train your body to utilize it better.
Yeah,
for sure.
And that's what happened at Tahoe. I just kept going and going and going, and everyone needed to stop. And
cheese and salami. Cheese and salami.
Yummy.
That's all I need, man.
Yeah, I do like scratch products.
Yeah.
But cheese and salami will power me through.
Nice. Why do you like hard things so much? You seem to crave to put yourself into these events that require some kind of out-of-this-world mental power to keep pushing forward.
Yeah, I've asked myself that many times. My wife has too. like I was saying, it's an exploration. It's an excuse really to travel and to train. Sometimes I wonder what I would be doing if I didn't have a race like Tahoe 200. Like RAAM, I don't know if I would say I train for that per se. I try to get up my FTP in the spring.
Yeah.
And I try and get a couple long rides. Look at Strava guys, and they're like at 8 or 10,000 miles before RAAM starts. And I feel like I'm always in shape enough to ride forever.
Yeah.
Maybe it's this point in my life. I'm 52. I like having that carrot in front of me in order to have an excuse to get outside. There's lots of days I get home from work and I'm so exhausted. It's been a long day, and I look outside my window. We live in East Grand Rapids, so there's people running all the time. And if it's snowing or raining, I'll see like a 70-year-old grandmother lady chugging along the sidewalk, and I'm like, what is my problem? Get out there, Jim, at least on the treadmill or something. So it's that fear too. I like to challenge myself with some fear that just kind of gets me off my ass. And I do worry about that as I get older. Like, are there going to be carrots left? You mentioned those 3 races right off the bat.
Yeah.
Greenland, here I come, I don't know.
Right. There you go. Greenland, I think you should go do it.
Right.
That's, yeah.
So there's not an easy answer. I guess it's not like I love pain.
Right.
I question it. And that's the thing. Every time you're in these races, you're like, what the hell am I doing out here? I could be at home with a beer, hanging with my kids, sitting in front of the fire, being all warm. I could be, there's so much money we spent on this race, and I could be, we could have traveled somewhere like, sitting on a beach in Miami or something. What the hell? What am I doing this for? And again, as you grow older, you start kind of realizing you might not have a clear answer, but I think what I've come up with is just the challenge, the fear factor makes me want to do things, and just exploration. Like if it's a race I've done before, I probably won't do it again unless I know I can do better.
Yeah.
RAAM is like that. RAAM is infectious because there's so many things I could have done better this year, and even my crew is like, oh, if we did all this better,
yeah,
we'd do so much better, and maybe break 10 hours, or maybe get top 3, or maybe even win the whole thing,
Yeah.
But it's just too expensive and everything. So that is one thing I tell my wife. I'm kind of leveraging that right now with my age. I'm 52, so I feel like, I'm not much longer. They're going to be like, oh, he's doing great for a 50-plus-year-old, right? But right now, I can still probably win some of these races, maybe.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm still in that quasi, when I'm 55, no. Actually, I gave her the same speech when I was 45. So I'm like, when I get 50, I'm not going to win any of these races anymore. But I have won a couple.
Right.
So
That's
I got to
funny.
keep pushing it out.
Yeah. I'm going to be 60 soon.
Right.
We gotta...
It's not age category. I can win the whole thing, man.
Right.
Yeah.
You said you really don't particularly get in shape for a race. You try to stay in shape all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like today we're at Ossipee. I'm kind of heavy on my mountain biking days now because the Margie's coming up, and that's more of a skill set. In Marquette, it's just a crazy trail system, and you got to be cardiovascularly fit. But I feel like you can do so much better if you're just you know your lines better. You know how to attack the hills. Because I could be the best fit athlete and come to a complete stop at a downhill and then just crank it up the uphill, but I'm totally going to burn out. Whereas if you have that technique,
yeah, and there's a lot of rock and different techie stuff up there.
It's a crazy hard race. I know there's some days I push myself, but the coaching and the plans I've been in the past, like I've done Ironman too. I don't know if you saw, I did 4 Ironman, and that is, I think, when you really need to zone in on all those zones and like push yourself, because that's all. I think Ironman, they say, is an endurance event. It's not. It's 10 hours of sprinting in my mind. My goal is to get to Hawaii. I was very close once. I was, I think, maybe 10 minutes off. I think it was 9th, and they take the top 3 or 4.
Okay.
My swim's my weak spot, but I guess I just like the various stuff to do. In winter, I'll cross country ski. I'll go up to Yankee Springs for like 3 or 4 hours with my dogs, and I'm not going fast. I'm not sweating, but it's just fun to be out there.
Yeah.
I think that just correlates to quote unquote being in shape, a low resting heart rate. But if I want to do other races like maybe Boston Marathon qualify again someday, so I did that once, and I thought, well, but have you seen the times for qualifying for Boston right now?
No.
They just keep going down and down. So if you're
Competition's fierce.
it's I think for a 50 to 55-year-old, 3 hours and 25 minutes, which it's just fast. You know, when I was 40 and I qualified, it was 3:10. I think if you're 40 now, you have to be under 3.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's, I don't know. I'm not a runner like that. I mean, if I put my mind to it, I feel like if I train hard and zone in on that one particular goal,
Yep.
I can achieve it, hopefully. I mean, Ironman Hawaii is super competitive, and you just need to be like top 3 and like top 20 overall for a male out of 2,000 diehard triathletes.
Yeah.
That's just not my style.
Right.
I suck at swimming. And,
Ditto.
Yeah. So do you
Sink.
like duathlons?
No, I haven't done any.
Yeah.
I don't like to run anymore either.
Yeah.
So I had an injury on the left knee reconstruction, and it just doesn't like running.
Yeah.
So I don't particularly like it anyway. I did enough of it in high school and college. I like to bike, so.
Trail running's the ticket, though. I mean, if
It
you
is.
don't like pounding pavement, you know, you can just,
Yep.
here's a sandy trail and kind of just chug up the hills, and you know, you're just not pounding your joints as much.
Yeah.
And it's just pretty and soft, and you're using different muscles. You just kind of jockey around all those routes and things.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy that.
That is fun, and that's probably why I liked cross country.
Yeah.
Because the trail running is enjoyable.
Hmm.
Yeah. Do you incorporate any strength training?
I used to. I did the P90X thing for a while, and I dabble with the indoor rowing machine, and I noticed that strengthening your core. We have an exercise ball in the basement. We have all kinds of bands and things. It's just, and I do notice a difference. I feel like after a few weeks of doing some sort of core work, that I feel stronger overall. I'm not as sore in my other joints because I think I'm engaging those muscles and not putting so much stress on ankles and knees and things. But, you know, I don't want to be buried. I guess I could we're out here at this nice park. I could do some strength stuff. I don't want to own weights. I want to do something functional. I feel like they say, well, if you want to run, you should break a record or do something. You should run. And it's just so boring to me. If there's a way I could
Right.
okay, here's one example with RAAM 2005. I had a 1-year-old, well, a 6-month-old when I was training. And I would do step-ups, and I have her in my arms, stepping up.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like playing with her, taking care of her, and doing a workout at the same time. I'm all about that. Or like sometimes I'll lay brick in the yard. I'll have certain projects around the house.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's my workout for the day. I'm building something. I'm doing something. We do have weights and those things in the basement, and you know, P90X is kind of like that goal-oriented thing where you can do something. But if I were assigned 3 days a week to spend 30 minutes on push-ups and sit-ups or core work, it's just so hard. Mentally, that's harder than the race. I swear, mentally.
That's funny.
Even at work, I have sometimes, I work in the office alone, and a lot of times I'm walking around, but like I'm at the computer, and I feel like, you know, I should just like do some sit-ups or some lunges or some sort of like isometrics.
Right.
Have you heard of Dean Karnashus?
No?
He's a huge ultra runner back in the 80s and 90s.
Okay.
Set all these records, and now he's like one of those talk motivator guys, motivational talk guys. But he said he never sat down to work, and he would stand all the time and do those isometrics. And I said, I'm going to do that. And I'm exhausted by the end of work. I don't want to come out and ride my bike. I don't want to go out running. I am tired.
Yeah.
You know, and so I do. I don't know. I would like to. Let's put it that way, but I don't.
Gotcha.
I'm too lazy.
You had mentioned using the kid. I actually I used to do these little segments on TV 13
Okay.
with Jennifer Pasco and some of the other people that were there back then. And
Uh-huh.
I brought my boy on once and just did a full workout just with him, you know,
Okay.
using him as...
Use your weight, right?
Yeah.
And put it on your back or something, do
People
some
thought
squats.
that, people thought that was great.
Yeah.
So I definitely have done that in the past.
Yeah.
When you train, do you spend... And I think I know the answer to this.
Uh-huh.
Do you like to train indoor or outdoor? Do you spend any
my
time indoor?
In the winter, I will. It's targeted. Like, you know, this was an hour drive for me today. Most of the trails around here, I'm so fortunate. Michigan's awesome that we have mountain bike trails that are within 30 minutes of my house. I have like 4 or 5 of them. I love gravel riding, cross-country skiing, ice skating. We live near a lake. I crave the outdoors so much.
Yeah.
But and I'm not shy of the rain or cold or anything, but I do have an indoor treadmill. There's a workout I created on that where I think it's an hour workout, but it's one of those 40% incline trainers.
Yep.
And I start at 10%, and then every 3 miles I'd go up another percent. And I think I do that for like up an hour. So at the very end, I'm like at 18 or 19%, and you can't run anymore. It's just you're walking, but it's a hard walk, and my heart rate's up there 140s, and that's high for me. So it's kind of, you have control.
Yeah.
And I do Zwift, and to train for RAAM, I downloaded the GPX file for a couple of the stages, especially the first one, and I rode that maybe 15 times throughout. If I get home from work, just pound out a 3-hour workout really hard. You don't have to worry about driving. Your bike's all set up. You just do it. You can go to the bathroom. Your food and stuff is right there.
Yep.
And then I'm kind of close to home too. So like if I get home 3 hours, and then I can be with family the rest, and there's no commuting or driving. So I will do it more in the winter, probably like everybody. I mean, if it were a day like today and I had to run on the treadmill, I'd probably cry.
Yeah, same here. Definitely not happening. No indoor on a day like today.
No.
Do you use any supplements or devices to help you recover after big events or big days?
I am a big tech guy. I love looking at those things. They look like candy to me. I want to get those compression things on my legs. Some people ask around here, how did you train for the altitude on Tahoe? You did so well, and you live in the Midwest, 700 feet elevation, and so they have like those tents and things.
Yeah.
But I'm more of a gadgety guy, like Garmin, and I've tried hydration sensors, and I do have a heat sensor, which I like. I use this during RAAM. It's fairly accurate on what my core temperature is. But as far as recovery and things, no big devices. I do sit in a hot tub. It's like magic.
Okay.
Especially after cross-country skiing or when it's cold. I just sit, do a long workout and come back and sit in that thing, drink a beer, have a pint of ice cream. It's like heaven. It's under a pergola, so if it's snowing or raining, I'm kind of protected. I just look out in the yard, and I'm like, yeah, it's a great feeling. So,
nice.
Yeah, a hot tub. I haven't really been sore for the last like 4 or 5 years. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
I think training for marathons and Ironman, you just that level, that zone, whatever, 4 or 5, you're up there a lot. That's sore. It's taxing on the muscles. And I think sometimes, you're not sore. You're not pushing hard enough. You should be sore. Sometimes I do have bike workouts on the trainer that I am sore. And I'm like, good. Finally, you did something that made you sore. It's mostly like like if I haven't cross country skied in a while,
yeah,
I'll be sore.
Okay. If you change a sport, just a little, yeah.
And that hot tub, I would say, is recovery. I mean, they say cold baths. No way. I like a hot bath. I want something 100 degrees more.
Same here.
Yeah.
So, hot tub, beer, and ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect for recovery.
That's the best, man.
All right.
Calories and just a little bit of analgesia with the alcohol. Nice IPA.
If there was one race you could do over again, what was it, and what would you have done differently?
Could be RAAM this year, because I feel like I could have won, realistically, with nobody finishing under 10 days.
Yeah.
If we didn't have the car flat and things. Or Badwater 135. Said heat is my Achilles heel, but I trained with that. I ran around Reed's Lake with one of those silver suits,
Oh yeah.
I lost like 6 pounds. It was like a pound an hour of water. Seriously, it was a pound a mile. What am I saying? It was unbelievable how much water I lost in that thing. But I did that a few times, and I got a sauna, and I was sitting in the sauna a few days a week, and I still threw up 5 times in Badwater. There was one guy making prediction on who's going to do well or maybe win Badwater, and he had my name in the top 10 because I did so well in Tahoe. I totally felt, I even said I was DFL on that race too for a good 50 miles until I finally started catching people. I said, I'm never going to get my heart rate above 130. Well, that meant with that kind of heat, I think my pace was like a 15-minute mile pace.
Okay.
I wanted to run faster, but anytime we get to a 12-minute mile, my heart rate would go 135, 140. And so I'm like, oh, Jim, you just got to stay to your course. But even after all that, just strict control for the first 40 or 50 miles, I still threw up, and then I threw up again and again and again. So 5 times I threw up. I was so emaciated, and my wife was thinking about pulling me, and my son, who was, I think, 12 at the time, was crew, and I wasn't going to punk out in front of him. And he actually ran on the course with me a few times. Some of the other racers, like, your dad is so cool for doing this. You realize that, right? And yeah. So, yeah, I finally finished that one, but I felt like it beat me. I knew what it was going to be like going into it, but it definitely beat me, and I hate that feeling. But on the other hand, I don't want to do it again because it's so friggin' hard. I did it. I got the buckle.
Right.
I really don't want to do it again. It's such a friggin' hard race. The Arrowhead was the opposite, with the freezing. You have to carry a sled with you with all this required gear.
Yeah.
So you're chugging along with a sled. And I did do that one again. Like I lightened the load. Before I had these ski polk poles.
Is that in case someone has to save you?
Yeah.
Then you can just lay in the sled and pull you with a snowmobile?
Yeah, they said it's kind of unsupported. So if you get in trouble, they'll have some volunteer snowmobile dudes going out there, but you have to have so much food. You have to bring a furnace, some fuel. And I went unsupported the second year. So no matter what you do, your water's going to freeze. So you get the little burner to melt some snow. They did have a shot of whiskey that I had, I think mile 120. That was great.
Maybe I should try that in the next, if I do polar roll again, because the same thing, your hydration just freezes after an hour.
No matter what. I've tried the heated Camelback hoses, tried blowing it back. The key is, I guess, just to keep that
inside your gear. Yeah. I tried that, but then guess what happened? My zipper froze and I couldn't get my coat unzipped.
Yeah, all that
so
steam,
I had it.
The event,
yeah,
right?
And it was frozen, and I was like, I can't get to this drink that's right here
because you don't want the hose to be sticking out your bib or your shirt.
It'll freeze.
Yeah. No, I hear you with all those problems. Yeah, tough. So you got to bring a furnace next time.
Okay. Oh man, do you do anything pre-competition to get yourself ready and motivated? Any rituals, routines, music, mental stuff?
If I look at other people, I get so nervous, and I'm like, I should be doing that kind of thing. So I actually kind of try and stay away from the start line, stay away from looking at other riders or racers, whatever I'm doing, because I look at the bodies and the people and their gear or whatever, and that makes me really, really nervous. Like, wow, look at all that stuff, or look how shaped that person looks, or it's just no way I can hang with those kind of people. So that takes me off. It's just, I think ultra is really a personal battle. I mean, eventually within the race, you might have a little competition, but it's really about yourself. And some of the ultra runs I've seen, like people really have to have a pacer. And to me, that's kind of anti what it's about. It's like, it was nice to have my wife as a pacer towards the end, especially since I was hallucinating and falling apart. I think it's needed for that kind of thing. And it was just so rewarding to have her with me to share that experience at the finish line. I like Margie's philosophy. I like that race because they are non-supported, no pacers, no aid stations. It's all really about you, and we can help each other out. And I think with ultras, we all help each other out. If I had a flat tire, somebody stops and helps me. If I need water, somebody gives me some water. I'm not sure you would see that in shorter races because it's cutthroat. You want to be first. You can't stop to help somebody
because there's not time to make that up.
No.
Yeah.
So it's a great kind of community feeling. But yeah, that's the only, even those ultras though, I still kind of get nervous and like, I don't belong here. I feel like I'm out of my league. What am I doing? So I kind of hide.
Yeah, just stay away until the start. Okay, nice.
I shouldn't feel that way. I feel like, Jim, how important is this race to you? You just want to finish. So who cares what they look like or who they are? You should go out and just talk, you know, just have fun.
Yeah.
And I do within the race. Once those butterflies are gone after like a few minutes,
you're good to go.
Yeah, and then I talk to people and say, how you doing and stuff.
You have Margie coming up on the calendar. Is there anything else that's coming up this year?
I have a free entry to the Grand Rapids Marathon. I just didn't want a free entry, but I work part-time at Metro.
Okay.
And they have free entrance for their employees.
Okay.
So I've raced that the last few years, and I surprised myself. Like, there's no pressure with it. It's like a free entry, and I'm just going to go out there and run my pace. So last year, I think I got 3:40, and I hadn't trained for it at all.
Nice.
So I'm like, oh, that's really good, Jim. So this year I'm doing that again. I'm looking forward to like October 15th, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And for a lot of these races I do, like I can't do Airhead for 6 more years because they have them on a certain weekend, and I work 7 on 7 off for night shift.
Okay.
So if it happens to be on that week off, I have like a 7-year. Cool, I can do it 7 years in a row maybe. That works that way. But there's this other race in Yankee Springs called the Winter Running Challenge, and I had done that 3 years in a row, and then I haven't done it for the last 7 years, and it's on my off week again, and that's the first Saturday after New Year's Day.
Okay.
And that's 50 miles at Yankee Springs in the snow. Very challenging, cold. It's running in snow and ice is so hard because you're just so sore so much quicker. Your ankles, your calves, everything is just working hard to kind of. It's ruddy, it's slippery.
Yep.
You have to have light feet. It's another one of those new challenges. Like, it's not even about the cold. It's just about. And I don't have special shoes. I just run in Hokas, no studs.
Hokas are the best.
Yeah, I love them.
So do
I got into them with the Ultras. So.
I had a client buy me them once, and the first pair they came out with they were just disgusting looking.
Yeah.
You know, the big
colors,
and then the
huge,
big white.
Did your wife make fun of you?
Everyone did.
Yeah.
he bought them for me, and so I started. But I put them on, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, I don't think I'm ever gonna go.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have something different on now, but I still have Hokas all the time.
Yeah, they're so comfy.
They are. If you were to give advice to younger athletes that look up to endurance athletes in you, what would it be?
Be true to yourself, know who you are, and just keep going. One of the RAAM rookies, he was from Canada, and I bumped into him in Oceanside. I saw a crowd on the pier there, and I saw he had RAAM stuff on. I went over and introduced myself to him. And he's from Montreal, spoke French. I didn't understand him very well, but he is type 1 diabetic, and he just looks super fit, but he has an insulin pump, and he has to monitor, and he's doing RAAM solo. I was totally blown away.
Wow.
But he was kind of paying homage to me, like, you've done this is your third time? I'm like, yeah. What advice do you have for me? I said, well, no matter how low it gets, no matter how dark it gets, just keep moving.
Yeah.
You can do this. Because I said, you just told me what you did. He rode across Canada in 15 days.
Oh.
He's run across Canada. Took him like a month. He's climbed Mount Everest. What else did he do? Some other crazy ultra. So I'm looking at this guy. He's in mid-30s, Sebastian, I forgot his last name. And I'm like, you have this race. You have it. And the next day, they were doing RAAM interviews. I'm on this panel. Like some German guy who's broken all these records, some guy from Australia, some guy from a lady from Denmark, and then him, and then lowly me with my tricolored hair, fruit guy down at the end, just kind of making jokes. Those guys look so awesome, you know, and he was there, and I'm like, this guy has type 1 diabetes, and he's done all these things. He might even win the race. But he told me while we were sitting there, he said, you know, I didn't ask him what he said, but he said, you told me and my crew exactly what we needed to hear, because he was really nervous that day.
Okay, cool.
And I don't know what I said. I said, you got this. I guess basically you got this because of what he's done before. And after the race, I saw a few interviews with him. He said he did go down a couple dark places, and he actually thought he wasn't going to be able to finish, and it was really taking a toll. And I hope he went back and thought about what I said. Like, no matter how dark it gets, you just keep moving forward.
Right. And
you don't think about stopping. And, you know, you were asking me that question about, is there any time where you thought you couldn't make it or thought about stopping? No, never.
Yeah.
I know that's easy to say, but if you have that mentality, like, you are not going to stop. You're going to weather out the storm. Like, you just don't even have that question in your head. Like, can I do this? How can I do this? Those questions just don't enter your brain anymore.
Yeah.
You're gonna do it. Stop thinking about numbers, stop thinking about place, just task at hand and do it. And that's, as far as training for something like that, I think again it's more mental than physical. Because I feel like anybody could do it. Sometimes I thought, my mom can do this. My mom can do RAAM if she really wanted to. You just gotta want to do it.
I don't know about that, but I do think that the advice is great, because I think it can translate into just life too.
Exactly.
If you just you're gonna have some dark moments in life, and you just got to keep moving forward.
Yeah. And tackle it, and like in marriage and things like that, and a lot of it's patience.
Yeah. Like,
you can't fix things sometimes. You can't, the flat tire. It took 4 hours. Be patient, man.
Yeah.
Race isn't over.
Yeah.
You hit some dark spots with, like, man, can I finish this hill? Can I climb this hill? It's a headwind. It's 1 a.m. I was hoping to get in by 1 a.m. and get 3 hours of sleep. Now I'm not going to get in until 3 a.m. My plan was to leave at 6. Now I got to leave at 7 or 8. That's going to put me way behind the next day.
Yeah.
You start thinking like that, chill out. Just you got this hill to climb first.
Chill out.
Worry about the thing tomorrow. And don't even worry about it. Get up when you can. Get that 3 hours of sleep. That's the most important thing. And, like, I kind of was my own coach on the crew. Is awesome. They would listen to me a lot, but I didn't really have somebody tell me that, because I just kind of knew what to say to myself.
Yeah.
they were definitely encouraging, saying you look great and doing all that, and it was helpful. And I liked looking at their faces of excitement when I kind of got a jolt or was having a good day. So I'm not going to say they weren't inspiring me or it was all me kind of thing, not at all. But I know myself pretty well now, and Josh Duggan will say, well, you DNF'd at Margie 3 times now. I think it was twice now. And the run I threw up at mile 50 is right there at the campground. And it's an anniversary weekend with my wife. And I feel like I can snuggle with my wife in this little thing, or I can finish the race. What are you going to do? So this year we both said, no matter what, you're going to finish. Even if it's like 4 a.m. and my wife's done with her race, she's going to be done. She's going to be sitting around all day, waiting for my dumb ass to get done with the race. But this time I'm going to get the buckle. And last year I think I only had 30 miles left to run as a duathlon, same as this year. And it was right near the campground, right before the hard part. And I'm like, it's starting to get dark. Like, I could go right over there, snuggle up, have a beer, and just be next to my wife watching some shows. Why am I going to write another? I mean, what's the point? I told Josh, the juice has to be worth the squeeze, right? I mean, I wasn't going to win. I guess if I was in first place, maybe I would have tried. Even then, that's the type of this race. It doesn't matter if you win or not. It's the person who crossed finish line first. It's nothing. There's no prize money. There's no. I might say, yeah, well, I finished first, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to shake. I feel like people who are taking the full, like Ironman, those 17-hour people, they've been suffering for 17 hours. The winners are suffering for 7.
Yeah.
They've been suffering 10 hours
10
longer.
hours more.
I'd rather give them all the money and stuff because they're suffering for that long.
It's funny you say that, because I think back to Polar Roll, this last one we did this year.
Yeah.
And, I can't remember the exact times, but I think we finished in between 3 and 4 hours. But there were people that were out there for, I think, 17, 18 hours
dark.
in the cold.
Yeah,
cold. In the day. I mean, the temperature was negative 20 below without the wind chill in the morning.
Yeah.
It was cold up there.
And you thought about them while you're snugged up in your log cabin somewhere?
I thought about, so what I always do, we have a bet with our buddies. And it's the first one back, or the first one to finish gets to be the first one back to sit in the tub in the house we rented, because there's usually only one tub.
Okay.
So that's the goal. And I go back and I sit in that tub and I stay in that tub and I think, there are people still out there freezing while I'm in this hot, warm tub. But
it's a little bit of sympathy, but you're like, thank God I'm in this tub, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Oh. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we sign off?
No, I guess I thought another question I had is, why am I doing this podcast? I could say, no, I don't like talking about myself that much, but I have heard other people mention me as inspiration, thinking, you can be Jim Trout today, you can go out for bike rides. So I have people that I look up to, or at least inspire me. So hearing that, I feel like sharing some of my stories. And I'm interested in all your other podcasts, listening to those athletes talk about their races and particulars. So I thought, I should share some of mine. And so that's why I'm here. And now I'm going to go for a mountain bike ride after being chomped on by these
flies. I know, same here. They it didn't start off, but then after about 20 minutes, they started biting our legs.
They're like the ankles. I don't know what it is with that.
Can people find you on the web anywhere, on the social media to connect anywhere?
I do have a Facebook page. Not a big user. Strava, I'm a big user. I just like seeing other people's routes. I've copied people's routes. I see their times. Like I said, it's kind of a slippery slope. They're like, holy cow, we just did that in like an hour.
Right.
Yeah, my best time's like an hour and a half. I suck. It's just neat. And I share pictures and videos. And, so I think I'm under Jim Trout. I think there's only one.
So find Jim.
Strava.
Yeah, find Jim on Strava, Jim Trout. Search him up.
Yep. I do have a blog. It's called Ultra Trout at Blogspot. I do have a lot of these stories that I haven't published yet. I'll have a little write-up. I did a big one on RAAM, so I'm glad I kind of got that out there. I think people should share the particulars of the race. Not just, I rode this many miles this day at average speed, but like, how many times did you go to the bathroom? What was your favorite jersey? What did you eat exactly? Not just like scratch products. How many scratch? There's like 4 different of those powder drinks. Which ones, when. So I tried to be as detailed as possible. What brand shorts I liked, what brand shorts I didn't like. Shoes, inserts, very detailed, and I can because it helps me choose gear too when people talk about that stuff.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah,
maybe I'll start doing that.
You should.
Like, what did you do on that 100-mile crazy Owaspee ride?
Right. What did you do? You just came back for water every once in a while, or what?
Yeah, I think I would do 3 laps with 2 bottles, or 2 laps with 2 bottles.
Okay.
Maybe 2 laps, 2 bottles, come back, just fill them up and go back out. And then
What'd you eat?
That's a story. Basically,
I killed a rabbit on the road.
Exactly. When I did my first century, I got nauseous and sick. And actually, when I did the lumberjack, I did the same thing, and I didn't figure out what I could handle to eat.
Yeah.
So after that, I did figure it out, and what it is I can have Ensures.
Okay.
So it's a drink, right?
Yeah.
And it's got calories in it, and it's got stuff. So that's what works for me, because when I get going, my mouth gets so dry. If I try to chew, even like an energy gel that's gooey, it's so hard for me to swallow the stuff, even if I get hydration in the mouth for some reason. So it's Ensures. And then the SIS company makes gels that aren't gels but are more liquid, and I can do those.
I think I've seen those before.
So that's what I do.
Cool. And that helps you. Is it just the little pint Ensures and you just chug it down real quick?
Yep, just one every. I mean, if I'm going to be out there for 8 hours, I try to do one every hour and a half.
Yeah. So when you come back and.
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Well, Jim.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time still wrapping my head around these endurance races that you've done. I know personally I don't have the mental fortitude to even think about trying something of that caliber. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
The rest of your events this year.
Thanks.
And hopefully you get to your goals. And I really, really, really appreciate you taking the time to come out and do this today.
Sure. My pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. You have just listened to Unpacking the Athlete.